Welcome to Secrets in the Shadows. Viewer discretion is advised. This case involves murder, child abuse, mental illness, and shocking injustice. The details are disturbing, yet they tell a story that must be heard. I'm Charlotte, and today we take a deep dive into the tragic and chilling case of Susan Smith, the mother who shocked the world when she rolled her car into John D. Long Lake, drowning her two innocent sons inside. This case is filled with deception, heartbreak, and a fight for justice that continues even today. Stay with me as we uncover every chilling detail. Susan Lee Smith was born on September 26, 1971, in Union, South Carolina. Her childhood was marked by instability and trauma. Her father, Harry Vaughn, suffered from severe depression and took his own life when Susan was just 6 years old. Her mother, Linda, later married a local businessman, Beverly Bev Russell, a well-respected man in the community. However, behind closed doors, Bev Russell sexually abused Susan for years, a fact that would later come up during her trial. As a teenager, Susan struggled with depression and attempted suicide multiple times. She sought validation through relationships with older men, often engaging in affairs with married individuals. Her behavior reflected a desperate need for love and security, yet it only led to more heartbreak. Susan worked various jobs throughout her early adult years, including at a local grocery store where she met David Smith. Their relationship was filled with passion, but also turmoil. They married in 1991 and had two sons, Michael and Alexander. However, their marriage was tumultuous, marked by infidelity and constant separations. Susan's need for love and approval often led her to destructive choices, and her relationships became increasingly unstable. After separating from David, Susan took a job at Conso Products, a textile manufacturing company in Union, South Carolina. She quickly moved up to the position of executive secretary to the company's president. It was there that she met Tom Findley, the wealthy son of the company's CEO. October 25, 1994, started like any other day in Union, South Carolina. However, by nightfall, a horrifying crime would shake the nation. At approximately 9:30 p.m., Susan Smith burst into a stranger's home, frantic and crying. She claimed that while she was stopped at a red light, a black man had jumped into her car, held her at gunpoint, and driven off with her children still inside. She begged for help, urging the police to find Michael, who was 3 years old, and Alex, who was 14 months old. A statewide search began. The entire country watched in horror as Susan made multiple emotional appearances on television, pleading for her son's safe return. She sobbed, clutched their photos, and begged the supposed kidnapper to bring them home. The nation rallied behind her, desperate to find the two missing boys. But then, the cracks in her story began to show. Susan admitted that there was no carjacker. On the night of October 25th, she had driven to John D. Long Lake, parked at the boat ramp, and, with her children strapped into their car seats, released the brake. She watched as the car rolled into the lake, the water slowly swallowing it, her sons crying for help as they drowned. Initially, Susan claimed that she had intended to drown herself along with her boys. She said she got into the car and started rolling toward the water, but at the last second, she changed her mind, got out, and let the car continue into the lake without her. Investigators later doubted this claim, believing that she had planned the murders from the start. When Susan finally confessed, David Smith was blindsided. He had trusted her, stood beside her on television, and believed they were both in agony over the disappearance of their boys. Learning that the mother of his children had deliberately murdered them shattered him. David described feeling utterly deceived. He had defended Susan in the media, believing she was just as devastated as he was. After the confession, David admitted to falling into a deep depression. He later revealed that he contemplated suicide because the pain of losing Michael and Alex was unbearable. In later interviews, David said, "I will never understand how she could do that to our boys. She took everything from me." David has since vowed to fight for his son's justice. He attended her 2024 parole hearing and has pledged to be at every future hearing to ensure she never walks free. Susan Smith appeared before the South Carolina Parole Board for the first time in 30 years. She pleaded for her release, claiming remorse for her actions. However, the board unanimously denied her parole, citing her continued pattern of rule violations and lack of genuine remorse. Smith has had over 20 disciplinary violations, including drug possession, self-harm, and inappropriate relationships with prison guards. In 2023, she was caught engaging in unauthorized communication with a journalist, attempting to negotiate a documentary deal. Michael and Alex's father, David Smith, attended the 2024 parole hearing and delivered an emotional speech. He vowed to return every 2 years to ensure Susan remained behind bars, stating that she had never shown true remorse. The community of Union, South Carolina, remains strongly opposed to her release. Many believe Susan should serve a full life sentence without the possibility of parole. Susan Smith will be eligible to apply for parole again in 2026. However, legal experts predict she will likely be denied again due to her extensive prison record. The tragic case of Susan Smith leaves us with important lessons about justice, mental health, and the consequences of deception. Susan's history of depression and emotional instability raises serious concerns about recognizing and addressing mental health struggles before they escalate into tragedy. Access to early intervention and proper treatment is crucial. This case also serves as a reminder of how deception can cloud judgment and lead to devastating consequences. Susan manipulated an entire nation, including her own husband and family. Understanding how childhood trauma shapes a person's future can help prevent cycles of harm and abuse, as Susan's early experiences of abuse likely played a role in her emotional instability. Michael and Alex were completely helpless in this situation, emphasizing the need for society to protect its most vulnerable and ensure that justice is served for those who cannot speak for themselves. The public and media played a crucial role in uncovering the truth and ensuring Susan was held accountable. This case demonstrates the power of collective action in seeking justice. The autopsy report confirmed that both Michael and Alex were alive when the car entered the lake. They remained strapped in their car seats as water slowly filled the vehicle, and they ultimately drowned. The report indicated that the children had struggled in their final moments, making the crime even more horrifying. Michael and Alex Smith were laid to rest in a heartbreaking funeral attended by their father, David Smith, as well as friends, family, and community members. The town of Union, South Carolina, was shaken by the tragedy, and hundreds came to pay their respects. The funeral service was filled with grief, sorrow, and an overwhelming sense of loss as mourners said goodbye to two innocent boys whose lives were taken far too soon. 3-year-old Michael and 1-year-old Alex never had a chance. Their mother, the one person who was supposed to protect them, betrayed them in the worst way imaginable. And while Susan Smith remains behind bars, the fight for justice isn't over. Michael and Alex, you deserved so much more. You deserved love, safety, and a chance to grow up in a world filled with kindness. Though your lives were short, your memory lives on in the hearts of those who continue to fight for justice. May you rest in peace, knowing that you are loved and remembered, and that your story has touched millions. Rest in peace, sweet angels. What do you think? Should Susan Smith ever be released? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story compelling, subscribe to Secrets in the Shadows for more shocking true crime stories. I'm Charlotte, and I'll see you next time.